Welcome to CRS, everyone. And with that, let's rev up your socials. I know the panel is revved up and ready to go. See what I did there? So let's get our panelists out here and get this next session rolling. Enjoy yourself. And while they're getting up here, I'll just tell you, watch new faces on Friday night. We'll have another round of scholarship information for you from the CRB board, which remains committed to developing new talent in our industry, which we need. So I will hand it over to you.
Hi, everybody. You guys having fun today? Ready to rev up your socials a little bit? My name is Brooke Taylor. I host middays here in Nashville on the Big 98. I am national for iHeart as well, so I'm excited to host this. We are the social media panel. We are talking about how to just kind of inform managers and really on-air personalities and sort of bridging that gap when it comes to just generating revenue for social media, or with social media, should I say. So I want to introduce you to our panelists. Really excited about this. Carla Marie, do you want to start?
Thank you, Brooke. I'm Carla Marie. I host the Carla Marie and Anthony Show, which is live on Twitch weekday mornings. This week we also just launched the Morning Show podcast, so it's been kind of a crazy week. I hosted the Carla Marie and Anthony Show for iHeartMedia in Seattle for a few years, and before that, got my start working for Elvis Duran in the Morning Show in New York.
She's a queen.
She is.
So is Joe.
I hope I'm not a queen,
You're
but
king.
you know.
Digital sales.
My name's Joe Brown. I'm the digital sales manager for Cumulus Media in Allentown. So I guess I'm on the dark side of things up on this panel. But
I mean, no.
We'll see. Yeah, for any of my salespeople out there, any salespeople at all, or is it all programming? Oh, Lord.
Oh, I heard one yay back there somewhere.
Good thing.
I heard
Good thing. All right, we'll teach something then today. So there we go.
So I love that Joe said, I want to start on the dark side, because I want to start with sort of just generally from a sales perspective, radio DJs, them being local influencers. What is your take as a sales person on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard it plenty of times, so I'm certainly not the first one to say it, but DJs, on-air personalities, I mean, y'all were the first social influencers, right? And that's an area that I think we have to protect, because there's so much competition out there, but we have a built-in platform for our people, right? And so that's almost like a jump start, a launching pad, where if you really embrace it, in my opinion, as an on-air personality, and really buy into that, you can take over social by storm, because you've got that platform where people are gonna learn about you beyond starting from the ground up. So to me, from a sales side, I love my DJs in Allentown who embrace it, who realize that they're not just an on-air personality, they're a personality. And they can do that across social and on-air.
Right, and I think one of the things that we're going to talk about today is sort of why it's important for not just sales and the on-air staff to be allies, but how to work together and communicate through all of the social jargon, if you will. So, Carla Marie, we are going to go there. Let's talk about some of the challenges, maybe as from an on-air perspective, that you've had when it comes to selling social media with a sales team.
I think a lot of it was that the sales team in Seattle, they just didn't understand, A, how social media worked, or how you could turn it into an endorsement that can make money for everyone, not just the talent. So we dealt a lot with that, but there were so many times when young salespeople who understood social media would come in and actually sell a campaign, but it would be social media only. They'd go to input it, and then the sales managers would be like, we've never done this before, we don't know how to do it, we can't accept their money. Who can actually say that? Like, they had no business saying that. So I would lose out on money, the sales rep would lose out on money, and the whole cluster would lose out on money. And it was a lot of money. But there's a way to do it, the same way you make money off of selling spots. And there's just a giant, and Joe and I have talked about this a lot, a giant misunderstanding and just not enough communication for being in a communications industry.
Well, and Joe being somebody as, you know, an ally to social influencers and the DJs being that for your market, how do you bridge that gap between the kind of disconnect that Carla Marie's talking about?
Yeah, that comment hurts my soul as a salesperson, because to me, I mean, take this back to your sales teams, y'all. Like, if you're not promoting yourselves and getting the salespeople excited about selling digital as well, I mean, we all know that digital is a really important revenue source, right? I mean, it's only going to keep growing, and just because it's something that they might not be used to doing, they've got to get on board the train. I mean, that is a train that's not stopping. If anything, it's going faster and faster, and if we miss out on those revenue opportunities from a sales perspective, we're missing out on a chance at growth, and we're fighting for dollars that are getting harder and harder to get. So to me, like, the key is communication. I don't pretend to know everything or practically anything about what my DJs and the programming team are doing, so I talk to them. Hey, what are you interested in? What endorsements can we get you in front of? Give us some ideas that we can sell. I always like to say, like, you give us something as a sales team, we can sell it. We're not always gonna be the creative ones coming up with it, but that's why I talk to my programmers and I talk to my DJs and I say, like, what's going on? Like, we literally have a meeting, guys, every Thursday with our DJs where the sales manager and the DJs, we sit for 30 minutes and we collaborate. Sometimes it's for a specific client, but sometimes it's just collaborating ideas. And I think that's so important because those ideas grow and they turn into revenue. And the important thing to me is it's mutually beneficial. It's revenue for the cluster, it's talent fees. And that's so key, is including that part to take care of the DJs as well.
So I know that there's a lot of on-air personalities or maybe, program directors, other people in charge in the room. So Joe, when you approach a DJ, say for social media, what do you need from them? Like, do you need input from them? Do you need to know numbers? Like, how do you take all of them basically and sell them?
Yeah, I mean, number one is buy-in, right from the get-go. Because there are just certain things where, like, you guys know, if you're not into something, it's hard to fake it because people know, especially on social. On air too, but I think, Carly, right? Like on social, like it's so evident when you're just halving it and you're not going into it with your full energy. So to me, like getting the buy-in right away, like, is this something you're interested in? Because if not, that's okay. We'll find you another opportunity. I'll go to another DJ that might be their sweet spot. So the buy-in is so important. And again, I try not to give an idea. Even if a client comes to us and says, we want to do this, we always try to coach the clients. That's great. We'll talk about that. Can we present you potentially some different ideas or maybe a twist on that? I always find that our most successful campaigns are the ones where I don't go to the DJs and say, hey, do this. I say, hey, this is what their goal is. This is what the objective is of the campaign. How would you go about that? Promoting that through social, creatively, let your minds go wild because it's gonna be better than if I tell you, you have to post with these copy points and this photo. No, what do you think would accomplish this objective? So important.
And keep you a real human being to your social media followers.
Yeah, it's not handcuffing, right? Like I don't wanna handcuff, I'm not creative, I don't pretend to be. I don't wanna handcuff my creative people. Let them go wild.
I always put it as, like being in radio, everybody always says, well, what's your radio voice? And it's just like, this is it. Yeah. Nowadays, this is it. Like we just talk. So it's like, you don't want to go onto your social media with the same kind of thing, like, and have a social media voice. And like, I'm just promoting this because I'm getting paid to do it. It needs to be just an extension of who you are. And I think that's really important to talk about too. But Carla Marie, as on the influencer side of this, what do you wish maybe you had more from sales, or how do you as a personality bridge that gap?
I think one of the issues was a lot of times they'd be like, oh, you're doing this on the air, you're doing 30s and 60s, so just for added value, can you post about it on social media? And I think that phrase needs to just be dropped from all sales, because that's lost money. There's so much money to be made from social media for radio stations that doing that is a disservice to everyone. So no, I shouldn't just be posting on social media for free just because I'm doing something on the air. And I think this is very important for our sales team to understand. Just because I am doing an on-air endorsement doesn't mean I'm also comfortable, paid or not, doing it on social media. Your face is there with...
Slow clap, yes.
Your face is there with the product. It's way different than doing a 30 or a 60 for a car dealership or whatever it may be. And also, you're on a public forum where people can just start having a conversation or comment or whatever they want to say about it. You do a 30, no one is yelling at you unless they call in or yelling to someone else. It's not a public forum for everyone to see. So just because I agree and you pitch me for a 30 and a 60 doesn't automatically mean I'm going to post it on my Instagram, my Facebook, whatever it may be.
Right. And I love that you talked about how like there's just so much money to be made with social media. So let's talk about money. I feel like this is kind of like one of those awkward conversations where somebody approaches you with a number and you're just like, you feel like you have to say yes and things like that. So Carla Marie, the best you can without, putting specifics onto it, but just how much content do you post for, this amount of money, the whole money aspect of it, that whole situation and how to start that combo.
Every campaign, completely different. So if someone says to me, what's your rate? I say, well, what do you want to post? Like, what do you want me to post? Is it a photo? Is it a reel? Is it a tweet? Is it Facebook? Is it a live? What is it? Because it's going to be different. It's also going to be different based on the product. How much you want from me? Do you need to approve it before? How much work am I putting into it? There are people that will charge, okay, well, I also have an hourly rate based on the amount of time it's going to take me to curate this. Am I paying a photographer? which I started doing. I started having a photographer now work with me because the work is so much better. Brands love that, and it's so worth it. So a lot will go into it. So as for an exact rate, I can't give you that, but it's a matter of what goes into the rate. So does a brand want to use that forever? Do they want rights for your photo? Do they want to use it as their own promotion? Just you can upcharge for all of that. And brands expect that now. They expect you have to actually say, how long do you want to use this for? Do you plan on using it for 3 months, 6 months? Is there exclusivity? That's something that, we deal with that on air. And you should also on social media, and you should get paid for that exclusivity.
On the sales side of this, Joe, I know there's a lot to kind of digest there.
There is,
but
yeah.
how do you approach all of the moving parts of social media?
No, Carla, I love your answer, right? And I want to go back to what you said about added value. Somewhere along the line, and I'm not sure where, added value in people's minds, especially sales, we're guilty of it, became free value.
Yeah.
But like added value isn't free value, it's added value to the campaign. So I think to me, if I was in your shoes, I'd push back too. I'd be like, no, my talents, my time take energy. And again, from a sales perspective, I look at it as, why would I give away socials and things for free? Like, why wouldn't we create revenue off of this? There's value, there's followers, there's engagement. I mean, if anything, you have actual metrics and numbers you can give back to a client, right? It's almost easier to me to show a client value with a social-based endorsement or campaign that complements an on-air, because the on-air, sure, you can look at certain intangibles, but with social, I love running joint ones when possible, Carla,
No,
but
I was going to say that
it's
so
not always
important.
possible, right?
No, it's so important, because what I loved doing when I was on there was to being able to say, I don't know if you saw on my Instagram, but I was at the jeweler or local jeweler, whatever it was, or we had this event and I did this or I met this, and it's like, oh, she actually did that. I can go physically look at her post. Oh, she's not lying to me. She's not just telling me she did something or shopped somewhere. She was actually there. And that tie-in is amazing.
But the key to that is that you have a vested interest in it. And to your point, there are certain ones where you're comfortable on air, but if we're not communicating and saying, hey, is this something you're interested in? To me, the best campaigns are when there's built-in natural interest. I don't want to force anybody to do something, because then they're not going to be doing it with their full heart. What I'm actually, and I know everything's customizable, and I agree. The one thing I will say that's helped my team at least is getting the sales team to create an actual rate card for social. We have a rate card for everything else. It's not a set in stone, this is exactly this. But I'm telling you guys, I mean, at least every salesperson I've ever worked with as a manager, they are black and white. They need something, otherwise there's no value to it. So if you don't have something for them to look at and go, okay, this at least has a value, this story, this post has a value, they're gonna give it away for free. So having a starting point really eliminates, at least in my market, that conversation of, oh, just do this for free on top of your endorsement, on top of your campaign. It's, oh, that's right, I have to cover this, which is typically some digital revenue along with a talent fee. That's been crucial for us. It's not set in stone, it's a starting point.
When it comes to, say, you have a campaign ready to go that a client says, I want this, I want middays, I want this person, this is who I want, but you know that your afternoon host is the person for the job. What is that conversation like with the client of like, listen, this person is better on social media, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, because obviously from a sales perspective, we never want to turn down money. But ideally, what we like to do is kind of take back control. The worst spot to be in is being an order taker, being told to do something. So whenever we can, we push back a little bit and say, hey, I understand you want that. We're going to talk to our team about that, but let me propose a couple other alternatives to you as well. I hate to say it, but like we have some DJs that are very much socially inclined. They get it, they love it, they're into it. We have some that aren't as much. And to me, I reward the ones that are. Because if you're gonna be into it, if you're gonna embrace it, you're gonna get more opportunities. That's kind of what I do. So when I'm looking for new digital sales opportunities, it's my job to drive revenue with the team. I'm gonna work with DJs who wanna buy into that. So whenever I can, I try to shift clients to those, even if it's not their first priority, their first choice, because I have examples. I have essentially things I can show them of, this is why this person might be a better fit. And that allows me to go back and again, communicate. Get buy-in from a DJ. There are times though, when we ask our DJs, hey, can you do this? Right? At the end of the day, can you take one for the team? But because we're always communicating, I think they're more apt to say, yeah, I'll take this one. I'm not really into it, but I'll do this one because you're normally checking with me. That communication to me breaks down so many barriers between sales and programming.
Well, and I think it's important to mention too how you said, the DJ can say no to, you know, an endorsement that they might not want to do. Carla Marie, like, talk about sort of this and like the no, and how we've talked about before, staying true to your brand and like who you are on social media is, like you said, completely different than you on the air sometimes when it comes to certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much the same across the board. You're going to get me on social media and me on the air is really the same. But when it comes to endorsements, I think is where you can actually see the difference. And that was an issue. I remember I had a sales manager that was like, but I don't understand why just because you're talking about something on the air, you can't also post about it on social media. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're talking about a roach killer, that doesn't look so cute when I'm posting that on social media. Sure, I can get super creative with that, but you have to, it's two completely different things. And it's not just an automatic roll it all into one. And that's what Joe has also said, but I think there's just a lot of conversations that need to happen with every pitch. And I think one thing I do not want to forget to say that as a talent, you have to also respect the sales team. So if you're going to be selling your own social or posting about something on your own, you need to make sure that you're not being a jerk and selling something or posting about something that either they could be working on with a competitor or something that is already an endorser on the air. Like if it's a movie theater and there's a local movie theater that has been buying spots forever, but you're gonna go post on social media and get paid for their competitor or whatever it may be, do not do that. And it's not good business. That does not help your station. It may help your pocket, but in the long run, it's not going to. And I think that is a huge thing that talent needs to understand. The sales team is working hard to get this done, and then you can go screw everything up. You need to be constant communication with them. These are the brands I'm talking to. Also, who are you pitching me for? Or what is a list of our clients? I don't know if you do this. Does every on-air talent have a list of everyone's clients?
Yeah, no, I mean, we have trackers for like at least endorsements and things like that in campaigns so that we're very much aware, you know, because obviously there's exclusivity in certain categories, especially if the revenue's there. And that goes for social as well, right? Especially because we have some social-only campaigns because that's just what that client is interested in. They actually don't want anything to do with the radio, so we found another way to make money off of it. I think it's so key the other way too, Carmen. When you say having respect, I think that respect's mutual. It goes both ways. And like, for me, I take care of you, you take care of me. Like that's when things work because again, then there's more flexibility when you do need a favor, you need something. And I always say like, I want my DJs to bring opportunities to us, and I think they bring 90% of the things to us because they know we can help them make it even better. But if they get something on their own, that's okay. Like shame on us for not thinking of that and pitching that to a certain degree, as long as we're collaborating throughout most of the process and that most of the opportunities we're streamlining. I think though, you guys should be doing stuff on your own because that ultimately will help the station brands, right?
Right. We have a little bit of time left, so I know if you guys have a question, you can submit it through the app, and we'll get to those in a second. But before we wrap up, I kind of want to talk about this because maybe there's an on-air personality in the room that is starting at ground zero from social media, or maybe they're there and they just aren't sure how to get started to, say, work a brand deal or pitch themselves to brands. Carla Marie, I always say, is like the queen of this. So if you want to pick somebody's brain, we've got her here for you. What sort of advice or what are some maybe tips that you could offer for somebody who wants to get started in that space but just isn't sure where to start?
Well, first of all, you do not need to have 1 million followers to sell your social media. And I think that's so important. And that's for a sales team as well. And you can speak to the following that your talent has. But I have a friend who's in radio, and they recently said, my sales team won't sell me until I get 10,000 followers. And I was like, why? Like, what is that number even? That doesn't mean anything anymore. You can share a link now without having 10,000 followers. Instagram got rid of that. So you can have these micro influencers brands are obsessed with. So you can have 6,000 followers and you can start making money off of your social media. So to pitch yourself to a brand, if that's something you are doing on your own, having a deck is super important, which is something I slacked on and probably lost out on a lot of money from. But once you get a deck together, super simple, it's basically like a resume, but put your Instagram, your social media, your Facebook numbers in there, your engagement rate. They don't really care about your following. They care about if the people who do follow you actually like you and are engaging and interacting with you. You know, you're not just posting on social media and leaving. I have a friend who calls it the ghost and post. You post and then you don't interact with anyone who comments or likes. No, you should be responding to every single person who takes the time out of their day to comment on your social media. Like and respond, even if it's an emoji. respond to them. Or if they ask a question about a brand, maybe something you don't want to answer right there on Instagram, you can DM them. Just, you have to be interactive. You can't, it's like being on the air and not taking calls. Not doing a live show and actually interacting with the people that are sitting in their car, spending their time with you, and just yelling at them over the radio. No, interact with them. And that's what's super important on social media, and that's what brands want. They want to see that your audience is loyal and that they actually like you. So that is something that I would recommend doing, is just a simple deck. Do it. You can do that in Canva or any of those free apps, and start reaching out to your favorite companies. If they don't respond, they don't respond.
Yeah, I love that deck concept, and very similar, building off of that. I think whenever possible, offer to go on meetings if it is through your sales teams. I can't tell you guys our closing ratio, how much higher it goes when a DJ comes on to that initial meeting, even for 5 or 10 minutes, just say, hey, what's going on, and talk to the clients. I mean, I think sometimes we forget that to certain clients, y'all are local celebrities, right? I mean, it's true. Sometimes we go, oh, no. But you are. I can't tell you guys. We see that all the time. They perk up. They get excited. We're just salespeople, right? They're like, oh, God, someone's selling me again. We have to work our way in. When we have a DJ with us, even for a couple minutes, it makes a world of a difference. Our closing ratio shoots up. And ultimately, obviously, that benefits you then because you get the campaign as well. So offering to go on meetings if you're not being invited. I'm not saying you have to sit for an hour. Offer to come on for 5 or 10 minutes, especially if it's virtual, like a Zoom. So easy to log on, say hi, be energetic, and then pop off. So I just think that's been a crucial little thing that we've done in our market. So
for sure. I think one of the main takeaways, communication with each other is key. And I know that's kind of one of those things that we say all the time, and we communicate for a living, but we're terrible at communicating, which is hilarious. But it's just that, the sales team's not out to get you. The on-air people we're not out to get anybody else. It's just a communication process that just really has to kind of be fine-tuned and refined a little bit. Yeah?
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Hannah, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we just have one from the audience. What social media platform do you think is the most effective for the radio industry?
That's a great question.
You want to start or you want me to?
I think it depends on the station. John, what station are you on? If you're on Variety or an older station, then Facebook is going to probably be the place where that audience is. If you're top 40, then Instagram and TikTok is unfortunately very important. And I know getting talent to do TikTok videos is not the easiest thing to do, but it's important. I don't know if it's necessarily what you guys are selling. I would say that's more on a content base, but brands are looking to work with TikTok influencers as well. And Twitter is I think Twitter's great in the sports world. I think it's probably the best platform in the sports world, and then also Facebook, but Instagram.
I'll build on that too. I think it depends, and I know this is may sound like a vague answer as well, but I think it depends on the client's objective, right? The campaign objective, because certain social platforms are better at certain things. So is it a lead gen purpose? Is it a branding play? What's the purpose of the campaign? You figure that out and link it to the correct social platform. I think that's when you have your winner. And to your point though too, it could depend on your stations. If your stations have a really strong strength and part of the campaign is not just using your personal, but also promoting through the station socials, I think you got to play to your strengths at some point. We always should be building, in my opinion, as many different social platforms as we can and keeping up with trends, but you also have to play to your strengths at some point. So depending on the campaign objective, depending on your station strengths, that's how I would answer that on a specific case-by-case basis.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming to hang out with us today. We appreciate it. And if you want to follow us all, you want to throw out your social media?
It's at the Carla Marie.
I'm just in sales, y'all. Follow Carla Marie. She's the one to follow.
And at Brooke Radio. But thanks, y'all. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.